Hello, everybody, and welcome to this Forex Toastmasters Club Speechcraft course. Thank you to all of our Speechcrafters who are here, to all of our members who are here, and to a guest who is here for the first time. Hello, Sue. Welcome.
Hello.
Just to explain to Sue and to everybody else, what we're doing here is not a normal Toastmasters meeting. I mean, everything that happens in here would happen in a normal Toastmasters meeting, but this is slightly different in that we are running what's called a Speechcraft course. This is a concentrated version of the Toastmasters experience. And we have, as of today, 10 people signed up to the Speechcraft course. Well done, everybody. Thank you for coming along.
Oh, wow.
Now, some of the people who are here are brand new to Toastmasters. Some have been Toastmasters for a little while. Some have been Toastmasters for some years, and they want to see how the new version of Speechcraft works. Because the new version of Speechcraft is all conducted online. That is, you get access to all of the materials online. You download it yourself and you read it yourself, except that the Toastmasters website has fallen over. And I have now been officially told that the shop, which is where this material comes from, will be the last thing to be fixed. And July 18 is now the official date when you will finally be able to access the material online. But in the meantime, I will keep emailing you out everything that you need on a week-by-week basis. Now, as your Sergeant at Arms, my phone went off then deliberately to remind me, to remind you to please make sure that you place your phone into silent or vibrate so that it doesn't go off while the speakers are speaking. For those of us who are here in the room, if there is a fire, don't leave behind me because there are books out there, they burn, so do you. Instead, please use the fire escape, which is over to my right, over in that corner. Those of you at home, you go wherever you like and do whatever you like. I don't care much. But please leave your cameras on if you can, leave your microphones off unless you are speaking. And on that note, I will now hand control of the meeting to my co-coordinator and the club president, Adi Strickland.
It's wonderful, isn't it? Do the normal thing that feels normal and you think, oh my God, wonderful, wonderful. So here we are at Toastmasters Speechcraft and also our Toastmasters Club Night, this club afternoon, I suppose. This is a wonderful occasion for me because I've conducted many Speechcrafts in the past, but all on paper. And some of the people watching have done the same, who've been Speechcraft coordinators for a long time. They've done that on paper, and this is a bit different. However, it will be on paper because, as Graham said, we can't get through to Toastmasters where their shop is because it fell down. Serves them right for doing things right on this. Oh, anyway, here we are. We have today a session of an educational presentation by me on how to introduce a speaker, followed by an evaluation. And watch that evaluation because Graham won't hold any punches on me, but he will be looking to see how well I did in delivering that task and also things I might have done well but haven't noticed. And also something to help me grow, something that might have been done better. So that's the way our evaluations work. You're looking for three things. The naturally good stuff, the stuff that's probably able to be improved, and the stuff that, you know, you went, well, that's pretty good. And I think you did it right. Anyway, we're just looking at that. Then we're going to have your presentation. So I think we have 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7 people to present a short three-minute speech. And those 3 minutes will be taken up. You'll have a green light at 2, amber at 2.5, and red at 3. So the green light means you've spoken long enough. If you want to stop there, the amber is try and wind up now, and the red is try not to speak any longer. Stop if you can. Sometimes we can't stop, can it? So the next thing is there'll be an evaluation of these by the Toastmasters in the room and other Toastmasters we might call on. Do we know who's evaluating who?
At this stage, I was going to do all of the evaluations, but I might But next week, Toastmasters will be evaluating, as will the Speechcraft.
Yeah, can we call on Tom?
Tom and I will share the evaluations.
Very good. Okay, when you're side by side sharing evaluations, it's much easier than when you're across the room trying to remember which ones you're evaluating. Then after that, we'll prepare for session 3. So we'll work out what we're going to do next in the next session. And then there'll be a little bit of time, I hope, for a bit of conversation and review of that first speech and review of the evaluations as you find them. I'm going to now move on to my next stage, which is the educational presentation. Welcome me. Thank you, everybody. Thank you, Toastmasters and Speechcrafters all. To introduce a speaker, you might be called on at work or in a Toastmasters club or anywhere to introduce somebody. And they say, well, look, your turn next. And you think, oh my God, what do I know about this person? Actually, it's very good if you've found out something first. If you've found out who that person is, where they come from, what makes their topic they're going to speak about important to the rest of the people in the room, and finally, to introduce them succinctly so that you know that people know that they've got some kind of authority in that area. We want to give a good introduction, because if you just say, and the next person is so-and-so, so-and-so gets up and people listen to the speech, but they're not listening with ears that have been primed to hear what the speaker wants them to hear. So priming the ears is a good thing. People do that in all sorts of ways, but an effective introduction is a good way. Rule of thumb suggests that the audience's assessment of the speaker is largely formed in the first 30 seconds of their speech or the presentation. The first 30 seconds. That's 1/6 of your speech today. So first 30 seconds, you can get those seconds off to a good start by a good introduction, and you create the right atmosphere for that person to be received by the group. The maximum impact comes from a concise introduction, short, sharp, and positive, one that will really improve people's thoughts about that speaker, but not improve them so that the speaker feels, oh no, I have to live up to something, I don't know how I can do this. It's just enough to introduce well. And the formula to introduce a speaker is TIS. It's speak on the topic, T for topic, I for importance, and S for speaker. You're brief, be brief, make sure that the speech is, your introduction doesn't go on for too long. I'm watching the timer there. And you'll also be informal, so you're like you're speaking to friends, just casual, but not so casual that you make that speaker out to be just some Joe Bloggs from off the street. This is somebody who's important to everybody, and be enthusiastic, warm and sincere. For instance, topic. Imagine you're introducing somebody called John Smith. Thank you very much, Anthony. The topic is, suppose you're introducing John Smith, who's a corporate affairs manager, and you think, well, use this formula. Topic. Today we're going to listen to this talk on how to avoid the mistakes made in pitching news stories to reporters. And the people you're speaking to are people at a business lunch. They're all reporters. And the latest industry survey, this is the I for importance of this presentation, says that reporters receive an average of 50 or 75 pitches each day on public relations professionals from them. And in surveys of this topic, the reporters say they only use about 90 to 95% of those, actually 90 to 95% of angles are not used. There are 3 main reasons why these pitches fail, and our speaker today has had a distinguished career in corporate affairs management He's used consistent pitching to news agencies for business media, and his corporate team is rated the best in the city. Mr. Smith has reviewed the report about these angles and has got some important advice for us today. Welcome, and you pause, John Smith. In this case, I'm going to welcome our next speaker, who will be Graham Cairns. Graham Cairns.
Thank you, Adi. Part of my job is to evaluate Adi's delivery of that educational session, not just to help her improve, but also so that you can see how an evaluation takes place. We use in Toastmasters a strategy called the sandwich method. That is, we offer some praise, we then offer some recommendations, and then we reinforce the praise. The idea is that you have the good stuff, you might want to work on this, and then the good stuff, and it all packages together nicely and becomes easier to understand. So, first up, let me congratulate Adi on giving some really good details on how to introduce the speaker. For example, when she spoke specifically about how to introduce a speaker, speaking about the topic, the importance, and then the speaker, that was a really good tip for you to use when you are introducing a speaker. Find out what their topic is, find out why it's important to the audience, and then a bit about the speaker. So that was a really good hint that Adi gave us. I also like the observation that the rule of thumb, that is that we make our opinion on the speaker within the first 30 seconds is really important. And the role of the MC, the person doing the introducing, is vital to getting that good perception of the speaker. So when you are the MC, make sure you have the introduction, you at least know who you're going to be talking about. There were some observations I would make for Adi, and in fact I would make for everybody. We are now running, what, about 4 minutes behind time, I believe. And as the introducer of speakers, you need to be aware of that sort of timing and perhaps to cut things short. It took an awfully long time before we got to the specifics that Adi gave us, which were really good specifics. In fact, it took about 2.5 minutes before we got to the meat of the sandwich. So if you are running short of time, cut away some of the frippery, get to the meat, because content is king. That's something that we all know in our presentations. That's something that is really important for an introducer. So with those notes, I really like the information that we got. The only suggestion I would make for Adi as an experienced Toastmaster is to keep an eye on the time. On the subject of which I have a red light, I'm going to sit down and now hand control back to our coordinator and Toastmaster for the day. Here's Adi Strickland. Thank you, Adi. Yeah, we can shake hands.
Gets confusing, doesn't it?
Sorry, can you ask
No, I didn't. Is it correct? Can we have photo? Oh, what do we want to say?
Just checking.
Just checking, yeah.
Objections to anybody online if we use photographs from this session as part of our public relations? Any objections? No objections? Good.
Thank you, thank you.
And likewise,
Thank you very much.
yeah.
Anthony, you amaze me at times. You have the correct way of doing things and really keep us going. Okay, so the next thing is to introduce people to speak. And I'm just going to go with the ones that I've spoken to this morning, which is in order: Dominic, Long, Alan, Robbie, Ryan, Steve, and Sandra. So Sandra, if you don't mind, you'll be last speaker. Okay. Now, some of the speakers are quite accomplished Toastmasters. Some of the speakers are not. Some of the speakers are brand new, absolutely. So I think it's incumbent on us and everybody here to listen for what's so good in every speech, because you will find something very good. So with Dominic, who's a member of our club, hasn't been able to attend as often as he would like. Things to do when jumping out of a plane. Please welcome Dominic.
Thank you. Do I need to attach this? Yeah, because I want to kind of be able to move my arms down. How's that? Can you hear me online? Brilliant. Okay, this is the story of my one and only solo parachute jump. Now, I was 19 when I saw an advert for a parachute club. And I considered myself at the time a bit of a physical coward. And I wanted to take some action to overcome my fears. And I thought jumping out of a plane was absolutely perfect. So after a little bit of training, 6 of us got in this tiny little aeroplane. And it was, as it was getting higher and higher, it started to get buffeted around in the wind a lot. And we were being thrown around a lot. And I was beginning to get, a bit nervous. I was beginning to question my decision. And I distinctly remember the instructor saying, if you don't jump, we're going to push you. And I was like really scared at that point. Okay. So we got to 2,000 feet and I did jump. We all jumped. But it was a kind of a, I wasn't pushed. It was a kind of a flop out. I think I was probably crying for my mummy or something. I've got blanks about it now. I didn't go, whoa, jump out, with glory or anything. But I did follow protocol and I counted 1 to 5 and I looked up to check that my parachute had opened, which it had, and just to check that there wasn't a huge hole in it, which there wasn't. So it was all good. And then I started to sort of go down. It felt like I was going down really slowly. I don't know how fast I was going down, but it was incredibly tranquil. I was really surprised. I looked over to the side and I could see my fellow parachutists. They were silhouetted, but going down slowly, silhouetted against this beautiful orange-yellow sunset. It was absolutely gorgeous. And I looked down to the ground. There was little farms and little houses. I felt really tranquil and peaceful. I was really surprised. And I felt, there was no fear. It was gorgeous. But then fear came into my consciousness when the ground suddenly started moving towards me really fast. And I didn't execute the role that you're meant to do as you land to avoid breaking your leg. I landed awkwardly, but I was okay. And so I then had this sense of relief. Oh, I've survived, haven't broken anything, fantastic. But then I realized I'd been so beguiled by the beauty of it all that I hadn't been focusing on where I was going. I hadn't steered my parachute to the designated drop zone. I was in a random field. It was dark by now. I didn't have a mobile. I had absolutely no idea where I was. But luckily, I saw a little light in the distance. So I got my parachute. I went on over. It was a farmhouse, knocked on the door. I was there, helmet there, holding my parachute like this. And this friendly old farmer came to the door. And he had a wry smile on his face. I think this had happened before for him. And he said, do you want a lift to the aerodrome? I said, yes, please. And he took me to the aerodrome. And they were all freaking out. They thought I'd broken a leg or, I died or anything. So what's the moral of the story? Well, I think the moral of the story is I would definitely jump out of a plane, recommend it. Fantastic experience. But I'd recommend you do it over farmland, not the coast or woodland. I recommend you do it not in the late afternoon when it's getting dark. Definitely take a mobile with you and remember to steer. Thank you.
Thank you very much.
Oh, sorry.
Thank you very much, Dominic, because now we know a bit more about you. You're the sort of person that jumps out of planes, or at least once. Long is newly come to this club, not a member yet. Hopefully he will be one day. I don't know where you want this. Out of the way, okay. And his intriguing title, designed to get us to know him better, is Within This Finite Time, Learning, Love, Stargazing. So within this finite time, learning, love, stargazing, long.
Anyone can hear me? Okay. Hello, everyone. Thank you for Graham and Adi for facilitating this course. Who am I? What do I share about myself to you guys? As Graham said before last week, speak from your heart. So I'll take a piece of my heart and give it to you all. My name is Long Nguyen. I'm a first-year student studying a double degree in criminology and psychology at Griffith University. I'm here today to improve on my communication skills because I want to help all aspects of my life. Do you know what's precious? Time. Time is precious. It's a special commodity that can never be refunded like money. It is finite. It pushes me to grow. Every second or minute is precious. Within this precious finite of time, I love to learn and grow. If you give me an opportunity to learn every degree in this way, I would. That's how much I love learning. It helps me to contemplate this reality and my place within it. Stargazing also helps me to contemplate. I love to look at the night sky with its twinkling stars. I think there's a big universe out there. Mysteries are yet to be discovered. Imagining suns and planets colliding, black holes bending light like no tomorrow, and galaxies that are born and dying from the ashes of the universe as time goes on. Sharing these moments under the night sky with your loved ones is important too. I have two best friends that have been friends for over 13 years. I have a loving but yet annoying family. I also have a partner that I love. He is my first love. We have two cats, very cute. Within this precious finite time, I love to learn, stargaze, and create memories with my loved ones. Maybe when you have precious time, look up at the night sky, maybe someone with you love, pets, object, we don't judge, and see that there's learning to be had, a sights to behold, and mysteries to be discovered. Thank you, everyone, for seeing a piece of my heart. I'm shaking.
Yes, that's right. I shake too when I'm shaking. Yeah. So, Alan, you're our first one online to give your speaking. And Alan, who has an intriguing title again, and will be introducing us to us with breath. With breath, please welcome Alan.
Thank you, Eddie and Toastmasters. This year, I had some surgery and I thought it was very important that I work on my resilience and my ability to cope. And I came across a book, Breath, written by James Nestor, that was described as a book you couldn't put down. And I would have to agree with that. I read the book, I adopted the practices recommended by James. He had discovered when working in aged care situations that the people there who had poor breath technique had poor health outcomes. And he researched if we had better breath technique, we would have better health outcomes. He and a friend, a fellow researcher, tried this by mouth breathing and nose breathing and noted the differences in the outcomes in their performance and their health. He also tried this with a group of Olympic athletes and again proved that a better breath technique was better health outcome and better performance for the Olympic athletes. So I was quite intrigued by all of this and I thought I have to do this breathing technique. He also researched how this has come about because our ancestors, the cavemen, hunted and gathered, they cooked their food on a fire. They had stronger facial bones and muscles because they had to chew their food a lot more. It's not as tender as our food is. With the industrialized age, we had mass food production and softer food. So our facial bones and muscles are not like our caveman ancestors were. We probably have overcrowding in our face, in our jaws and teeth, and some of us may have had teeth removed. I have. So we have other health issues. We might have sleep apnea, high blood pressure. There are quite a few things that we can have: obesity, asthma, and other ailments as a result of our poor breathing technique. When we take short breaths, we are actually turning on our sympathetic nervous system. And that's like your flight and fight. And it's not good for us to be continuously in that flight or fight mode. It's bad for our health. Our heart rate increases, the adrenaline kicks in, our blood vessels constrict, our pupils dilate, our palms sweat, and the mind sharpens. A bit like my dog attack this morning. I think I was experiencing all of those things. So to be in that state for a long time is not very good. So we need to turn it off. So if we can do a longer, slower breath, we actually then turn on our parasympathetic state, which is more relaxed and better for our health. So I practiced these breathing techniques, and it was a matter of 5.5 seconds in, slow, steady breath, 5.5 seconds out. And I did this, and I would count to myself. There's another way that we can do this by downloading an app, and the app is called Cardiac Coherence. And initially, I used this practice when I was having trouble to sleep, because I thought this will help me to relax when I'm trying to get to sleep. And I practiced longer and more often so that when I was having surgery, I would be able to relax. After my surgery, I found that I didn't have a lot of the complaints that other people may have had because of, and I felt it was because of my good breathing technique. So I recommend this breathing technique to you. If you can get a hold of the book Breath by James Nestor, it's available on Booktopia. It's very good, but we can all do this at home, practice ourselves at home, download the app. Let's try now. Let's breathe in 1.5, 1, 1.5, 2, 2.5, 3, 3.5, 4, 4.5. And it's that simple. Toastmasters.
Thank you very much, Alan. And I see that one thing that we now know about you is you're very keen on helping others with their health. The next person to speak is Robbie Strickland. I go for the surname because he's my husband, so you know there is a connection there. Robbie is going to talk on Master of None, with a question mark, with Master of None. Robbie.
Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. And good afternoon. Can you hear me, please? Thumbs up. Great. Good afternoon. My name is Rob Strickland, and I have been a Toastmaster for over 10 years, so I'm not new. And during that time, I've delivered many speeches and many table topics and lots of brief, entertaining items, none of which have been joined together, so they're all isolated. I am now retired with a grown-up family, and now that I have a little more time, I would dearly love to be able to proceed through the Pathways program and to be able to proceed on to DTM, which is the Distinguished Toastmasters, and it is the holy grail of Toastmasters organization. I believe that proceeding through the Toastmaster program in the way that it is designed will give me huge skills. And whilst I've long advocated for Toastmasters to be the wonderful way for people who are working to be able to increase their experience, their knowledge, their skills. It is only now in my retirement years that I can approach Toastmasters as a way for me to find the skills and the confidence I need to allow me to branch out into an entirely different line. Now, to give you a little insight into who I am, more than just a retired person, I've been successful in many areas. For example, I was a high school teacher. I was a real estate salesman. I have driven buses around Brisbane City, and I've done commission selling for many years, just to name a few of my occupations. In other words, I am the perfect example of a jack of all trades. And believe me when I say that being a jack of all trades is truly results in being able to call yourself master of none. So when I become a DTM, then I will be the very opposite. So it may seem incongruous for a retiree to branch out into a new life, but for me, the idea of doing new things in a new way is a great way to stay focused, to be present, and to be alive. Some of the activities that I propose to work on with my newfound Toastmaster skills are encouraging others to become physically fit, singing in a choir, helping Aussie battlers, and training other public speakers. And at the end of the day, Madam Toastmaster, I want to be able to choose fruitfully to become a more active person.
Thank you very much. Robbie. Okay, that was a little aside there. I think because we're married, we've been married a long time, not because we're married, but because we've been married a long time, we kind of shortcut things now. Yeah. Thank you very much for introducing yourself to this group. I think you did it well. I look forward to hearing what the evaluators say. Ryan, with the intriguing title, A Drug Dealer's Paradise, Ryan, who's already a member of our club, is going to tell us something interesting that maybe we don't know about him, but actually he will tell us what it is. With A Drug Dealer's Paradise, please welcome Ryan.
I'm Ryan, aka Dylan. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster. Yeah. Just so you know that the title came up at the last second. I hadn't planned it till I was put on the spot. But we're going to do a little episode of time travel. I want you to go back to the year in your mind, 1863, and if you can imagine the rugged Sierra Mountains of Northern California. And it was in this year that the government were relocating the Native American Indian tribes onto reservations. And in this case, they took the 4 local tribes and allocated them a place called Round Valley in a town called Covelo, which is a small logging town. Now, to the government, all the Indians looked the same. They had brown hair, or sorry, they had brown skin, they had black hair. And so they put these 4 tribes onto this 100-acre reservation. What they didn't know is these Indians, or maybe they did know, they had been feuding with each other for years. They were 4 tribes that hated each other. They'd been warring for decades. So when they put them in this small area, the usual thing happened. The retributions began again, the revenge killings. And so this place just became a hotspot for violence on violence with these people. And over the next 100 years, this rough and ready town became home to loggers, ranchers, outlaw biker gangs, returning Vietnam veterans, hippies, people basically looking to drop out of the mainstream place. And it got so wild there because of this community of Indians that were warring and all these sort of nomadic people that it became the murder capital of the world one year. Now, there's only 5,000 people living there, but per capita, there were so many shootings that it became the murder capital of the world. Busloads of tourists that would come to do mountaineering activities would witness shootouts in the street, and they thought they were on a film set. There were so many shootings, so they're taking pictures thinking they're on a film set. Now, and due to the ideal climate, the next people that came through were marijuana farmers. Farms popped up everywhere, and to this day, it's still called the Green Triangle and produces the majority of cannabis for all of the United States. It also became a prime hunting spot, and during that time, a lot of wealthy CEOs built these magnificent hunting lodges so that they could entertain their executives. So guys from Shell Oil, Philip Morris Tobacco built these amazing lodges. And one of these lodges became unused after a while and was sold to a large marijuana farmer, as it was on 50 acres and had great water access. And it was on this lodge, in this lodge, I should say, on August 26, 1973, that they had a huge party to celebrate the end of the growing season. So you can imagine the population of the town, not all 5,000, but a small scale of everybody came up. So you had Hell's Angels, you had Vietnam veterans, you had the hippies, you had the workers, you had, everybody was up there to celebrate. Surprisingly, they all got along well this night. They had food, they had music, and there was a young woman at the party who wasn't drinking, but she was having a good time with her friends. And all of a sudden she stopped, she buckled over. You could see she was in pain. So her friends grabbed her and they took her back to one of the guest rooms. And it was in this room she gave birth to a baby. Now the nearest hospital was 4 hours away, and she wasn't expecting to give birth for another 2 weeks. But fortunately, one of the ladies at the party was a midwife, and the baby was delivered safely and without incident. And several hours later, at 6 o'clock in the morning, with the baby cleaned up, the mother bathed and recovered, the weary band and the guests that were left came quietly into the room and sang an a cappella version of Happy Birthday to me. So that's the story of how I came about in reverse. So, thank you. Thank you. I better give you this.
Oh, that is a wonderful, almost a cappella speech. Sorry, Dylan, my mistake there before. Ryan, cross that out. Dylan is definitely a member of our club, and he's doing very well with his speaking. Drug dealers paradise. I don't know what I was expecting, actually. Now we have Steve. Steve is a friend of Robbie's, and he's speaking from home there. Hi, Steve. And you're on next with Wheels of Light. I think you'll find out more. Sorry?
Wheels of Life.
Wheels of
Life.
Light.
Life. L-I-F-E.
Life. Wheels of Life? Well,
Yep.
there you are. Death has. That's me. Wheels of Life. Steve.
Thank you, Adi. Can everybody hear me? Yes. In Australian society, cycling is something we almost all learn to do, and as youngsters, and is seen as an important step in our development. Then by the time we reach our late teens, driving becomes also important, and people get their driver's license, and it is seen as a rite of passage to adulthood. By this time, the numbers cycling drops dramatically. However, I was one of those who continued, and cycling has been an integral component throughout my life since. Cycling has given me independence. From the times of pedaling my purple tricycle up and down the footpath in front of my parents' house with the grit and determination of any serious professional, cycling has been important to me. I recall when I first went to university, my parents would give me a ride to a friend's place who would then drive me to uni, and then I'd catch a bus home. I found this very confining, claustrophobic and restrictive, and it felt just like a continuation of school. Then, a few months into the first semester, a friend offered me a bicycle for $50. I grabbed it, and with it came a ticket to freedom. It was a wonderful outlet for my youthful energy. I rode from home to uni and back. I rode at lunchtime. I rode on weekends. I rode whenever I could. I discovered my passion. Cycling has given me a life when I thought I had none. When I was at uni, I was studying something that really didn't fit me. I didn't have the confidence or skills to work through this despite seeking professional help. I became severely, severely depressed. After I think 4 or 5 years in a black space, one day I was walking through the house and I came across my bicycle, which had been unused throughout that period. I stopped near the bike and staring at it, and something happened. A thought crossed my mind that I'd like to ride again. Those of you who will know, when you're very depressed, you don't want to do anything. Anyway, I think this was the first spark in my long return to a healthy mental state. 3, that's 3. 3. Cycling has given me a means to connect with nature. My love of nature is my other passion. And cycling has given me so many opportunities to experience wonderful things in nature. In conclusion, 3 of the many things cycling has given me are independence, health, and a means to experience nature in a positive way. Yeah, sorry. I'm so grateful that cycling has given my life wheels in the cycle of life. Back to you, Madam Toastmaster.
Now we know that you went to uni and you like cycling. That's pretty good, and love nature. So 3 things we know about you now. Finally, in this program today, we're going to have Sandra come up. Never been in Toastmasters before, so the bravery is there. And she is going to talk about sometimes life feels like a roller coaster. So with sometimes life feels like a roller coaster, Sandra.
Thank you. Can you hear me? Yes? Yes. Well, life is never going to be perfect, we know. We are going to have perfect moments and then some rough spots. My name is Sandra Valenzuela, and I spent my first 30 years living in Lima, capital of Peru. I grew up in a beautiful, loving family with 2 brothers. My mom and dad worked very hard to provide us a beautiful home, good education, food, and love. I lived my teenage and 20s in my parents' house, where they did everything for me. I didn't cook, I didn't clean. It was the perfect princess life there. You could say that I was very spoiled, yes. My life was simple and happy. I went to a private school and then I got a bachelor degree in business. And I got a job. My brothers, they got married and they left home very quick. So I was there, the only child living with mom and dad until my late 20s or 30s, sorry. Life was perfect, but suddenly everything changed. I started to apply for jobs for a large accounting firms. And then I was rejected over and over because they expected to have a people who speak English. And my English was horrible. I started searching internet, English courses overseas. Photos of Canada come up. It's very cold. No. Photos of America, bombs, blood. No. Photos of Australia. Oh, the beautiful sunset, the cute koalas, the kangaroos, the beaches, the surface. Yes, the surface. This is the place. I took the decision. I immediately start my papers to get the resident visa, and I bought my ticket. I told mom and dad that I'm going to stay here just 1 year to get job experience and speak English. But love came to my life, knocked my door, and I met a wonderful Aussie guy. 12 years have passed. And I'm here speaking in my Spanish English in front of you. For me, living in Australia is like a roller coaster. Some days I love the sun, I love the beaches, I love the surface, I love the green areas. But some days I just realize what I am doing here. If I could not understand the language completely, if I cannot work in my career. But at the end of the day, I just get right of it because I am resilient and I want to keep improving. And for this reason, I am here. Thank you so much.
Thank you very much, Sandra. You have certainly opened yourself out to this club and to the rest of the Speechcraft group. I'm going to hand over now to the evaluators, starting with Distinguished Toastmaster, Graham Cairns.
Thank you, Adi. Thank you, Madam Toastmaster, fellow Toastmasters. Jessica. Sue, can I ask for the timing, if you would be so kind, on each of the presentations?
I didn't hear that, Graham. What did you say?
Just going to ask, can you give us the timing for each of the, can you give us timings for each of the speakers?
Yes. Okay. Dominic was 3 minutes 35. Long was 2 minutes 48. Alan was 4 minutes 27. Robbie, 3 minutes 14. Was it Ryan or Dylan next?
Dylan.
Dylan was 3 minutes 45. Steve was 3 minutes 41. And Sandra was 3 minutes 24.
Fabulous. I thank you for that. All right. Well done. Well done, Madam Timekeeper. Because we are running a little behind time, I'm going to briefly give evaluations for all of those people that I evaluated and then do a summary of observations. First, I'll start with Dominic. The use of gestures, the use of humor, the use of going out there in front of us, I thought was something that was really worth commenting on. That was brave. That was, in fact, perfectly suited to this presentation. I loved not breaking the leg, but at least timing, looking like he was going to. One observation that I would make, not just for Dominic, but for everybody, is to watch the timing, because we are very limited in this group, but you'll have more time for presentations in the future. In fact, for the rest of the presentations, I believe they're 4 minutes rather than 3. Keep telling stories and look for a closing line before you begin, which is an observation that I would also make for Dylan. Dylan, for example, had some wonderful stories. Once Upon a Time is a really great way to start a presentation. In fact, it's the best way to tell a story. We've been telling stories since Og was a caveman, and starting with Once Upon a Time. This is what happened. I want you to cast your mind back too. That works to draw us into the story. So well done. I love the research and the story behind the story. One thing I would suggest for Dylan, though, was to find a great close. And he had a great close where he said, and they all came in and very quietly sang, "Happy birthday to me, happy birthday to me." That was a really good place to end it, rather than then come in with, "And so that's my story back to front." If you just ended on that great stick line, that would work really well. We've mentioned timing. Let's move to Ellen. Drawing us into your research and telling us why it's important to you as well as why it's important to us, I thought was one of the highlights of this presentation. Well done. There might have been a little too much information in this for a 3-minute presentation, had you only given us a couple of suggestions rather than 4 or 5. And if you're going to ask us to, for example, do the breathing, allow yourself time to do that, because you actually ran through those 5-second breaths in 3 seconds, which sort of made the whole point pointless. But congratulations on that and on some really good research, and I will be looking up that book a little later. My final presenter is Sandra, and I have to say, Sandra's presentation was like a roller coaster for me too. She started out really quite nervous, but she powered through that nervousness really, really well. It was like we could see it, nervous, but no, bang, she delivered, and delivered really well. I love the humor, I love the growing confidence throughout the presentation. The only suggestion I would make for Sandra, and this is something that will come with experience, is a little less reliance on notes, but at this stage as a speaker, don't think that's something that you need to deal with. It's just something to be aware of going down the track. I thought all of the icebreakers that I had were terrific. Went a little over time, but you get that. But I was really, really, really honoured to hear some great stories. And I love the fact that there were so many stories being told. Tom, if you can deliver the evaluation for the remaining Speechcrafters.
Thank you, Graham. And yes, I very much had the honour of hearing from speakers, 3 speakers who I hadn't heard from before today. Starting with Long, fantastic. You are a natural storyteller. I don't know if you realise it, but you are. Don't shake your head because I'm telling you. You have a descriptive voice. You use your body naturally. We could see the night sky that you were describing. So definitely harness that in any speech that you give. Use what tools you have naturally to you, and that is certainly one of yours. You identified the tool of obviously using lists of 3. We didn't have a lot of time to get through those today, and so I'm looking forward to hearing further speeches on all 3 of those aspects: your learning, your love, your stargazing, and hearing the 3 points about each of those, where those 3 points are going to be much closely joined together than 3 sort of separate points today. But you use that tool effectively in the time that you had available today. So well done. Secondly, Robbie. Robbie, as an experienced Toastmaster, you demonstrate a very clear and calm tone throughout. And I think that's something that our Speechcrafters can all look to emulate as we go through. We have more time than we realise, and if we slow ourselves down, our message will come together quite clearly. Robbie he introduced his purpose today, and then he introduced himself, and then came to the theme, which was introduced at the start. And we can use our introduction, our theme, and keep our audience wondering, and then go, that's why he's the master of none. Or after this course, he's going to after he's distinguished Toastmaster, he's going to be the master of something. So tying elements of your speech together well is going to help your audience. Finally, from Steve. Steve opened with a really good technique of relating to his audience early, because most of us will have learnt to ride a bicycle in our backyard, being forced, if nothing else, upgrading from the tricycle to being let go for the first time. And then, yes, Steve told us how his story is going to diverge, how this is something new and different we want to hear as someone who continued cycling throughout his life. So that's a really effective technique. Just one note for online presenters, and it's something that we've all had to get used to even more over the last couple of years. I know the first time I gave a Toastmaster speech online, I thought, great, I can have my notes right next to me and no one's going to know. We do know where your notes are because we're following your eyes. As Graham said, using notes is okay. Just when you're doing it online, have them have them in a place that's going to be a little less obstructive. So if you can have them above your screen, to the side, or to either side, probably down beneath is probably the place we're going to notice them the most. So just a tip for all anyone who's presenting online in that forum. But I loved your story, Steve. You also had an open, natural storytelling tone, and drew together the three themes from your speech of independence, health, and experiencing nature to tie it all together. So well done, everyone. I was honoured to hear all of your speeches. I'm looking forward to the next ones over the coming weeks. Back to our Toastmaster.
Thank you, Tom. So Tom's going to be the president of this club as of next week, I think. Yes. Yeah, so Toastmasters have a revolving group of people in each club that are the people who run the club, for the club, and they are the club too. So this group of people will run the club, and each year the president has to give up his role and pass it on to someone else, just to make sure you don't get too happy in that place. No dictators in Toastmasters. I think we're next on the agenda is a preparation for session 3. I don't have the session 3. Okay. Well, I introduce distinguished Toastmaster, Graham.
Jans.
Jans.
That's me, yes. Yeah, we can do it that way. Good. We are running out of time. Normally at this point, we would actually break into 2 groups, one the group online, one the group online, one the group in here, where we will discuss what you're going to give for your speech next week. We won't have time to do that this week, but I will, as coordinator of the course, be emailing every speech crafter. The short version is, next week, you are invited to give a 3 to 4 minute speech on any subject that you like. Last week, you'll remember that Helen gave us a how to choose a speech topic. And in fact, I've sent a copy of her notes out to everybody in the email this morning. If you haven't checked your email this morning, there will be that email there, which has a copy of her notes. We're asking for a 3 to 4 minute speech on any topic that you like. We can probably fit everybody in. We have, in fact, now 10 speech crafters. It's going to be difficult to fit all the 10 speech crafters in if we're going to do table topics as well. But if you'd like to prepare a speech, please start thinking about what you would like to talk about for 3 to 4 minutes on any subject that you like. And I would be really honoured to hear more speeches like we heard today. So that will be next week's session. We will also have at our next week's session the division director of Brisbane Division. That is the dude who's in charge of all of the clubs in the central Brisbane district. He'll be here as our guest. He'll be giving us a general evaluation. That's what's coming up next week. Expect to get some emails from me asking what you'd like to speak on and are you going to be a speaker, because I'll be the coordinating next week and it's going to be busy. Do you want to do guest comments and such things, Adi? Adi, all yours.
We have one new guest here today, which is Sue. And Sue, can you say something for us?
How did you find today's meeting?
How did you find this meeting?
That's all right.
Okay.
Will you come back?
Well, hello, Toastmasters. Can you hear me?
Yes,
okay. Well, first and foremost, the name Sue is short for Surangika. I'm Sri Lankan so originally Sri Lankan, but Kiwi citizen now. And 20 days in Brisbane. So brand new to Brisbane and brand new to this Toastmasters Club. I am, however, a CC. So I think I stopped my last Toastmasters Club meeting probably in 2015. So I've just got the CC at that time. I am now looking out for a job in Brisbane, having finished up my last job in Wellington. And facing interviews, obviously, I feel as if my ums and ahs are coming back. So I thought, maybe it's time for another Toastmasters session. But overall, today I found this group a fantastic group of people. And I love the sessions. I love the Speechcraft thing. I must admit, I was a bit curious as to what the agenda was all about, but It's really enthralling and invigorating, and I'm looking forward to the next session. Thank you very much.
Have we got any other guests here today, Graham? Okay, so thank you all for coming, all the speech crafters. I'd like Maria Battazzoni to say something. I might think you're a senior Toastmaster there. So can you say something about this meeting? Keep it brief because we're running pretty close to time.
Thank you, Adi. I've thoroughly enjoyed this meeting. It's been stimulating. It's been so interesting. And what I like is that emphasis of keeping things on time. It's so important. We learn that skill in our daily lives, wherever we are. Meetings have a beginning, a middle, and an end. Thank you for the emphasis on that. I do enjoy that. Back to you, Adi.
Thank you, Maria. And I'm going to give one congratulations today because everybody here spoke beautifully. We had a wonderful group of speakers and the evaluators did a very good job giving good points about what people had done well and things that they could take on and chew on and say, well, what can I do to improve that? I'm going to congratulate Long because he was the only person who kept within time. Well done, Long. Thank you very much, everybody. This meeting is closed now and we'll see you again next week, same time.